That's why. Why would you need to do that? All the latest pardon recipients have been verbally attacked by Trump, and many of his allies have called for them to face criminal charges because they're criminals.
I wouldn't call myself an ally, but I am calling for them to face criminal charges.
The move coming in this is the line. So now this is going to be the line. Just like when they said no stop transmission or contraction. This is the lie. Well, now that the lie is that this Trump was going to weaponize the way it was the justice system, the way they did it to him,
and to a lot of other fucking people, not just him.
Not just him. The move coming in the waning moments of Biden's more than 5-decade political career is a final condemnation of Trump on the brink of it's a condemnation of our political system and Biden and the corporate media. Can you believe this?
I hope Trump makes their worst nightmares come true, and I'll be so for it. That promise from MSNBC about Liz Cheney and the firing squad, I'm way into it.
So good old political, once again, jumping to the rescue of the people they're supposed to be shaking their fist at. That's what this is. It's like if you're watching a baseball game and the batter and the pitcher are on the same team and being paid by the same people. That's what the political's on their team.
Do people think, look, there's a new generation of suckers born every minute. So by the time you get old enough to realize how perverse this is, you don't fucking matter no more.
That's right. So in his farewell address earlier this week, Biden warned that an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth. Oh, you mean just now? You mean not George Soros?
Oh, I wish somebody had told Luigi to save his gun for the real problem.
This is
an oligarchy, heavens to Murgatroyd.
Oh, when did that going to happen? There was a Princeton study 10 years ago that said we live in an oligarchy. Over 10 years
Princeton's
ago.
biased in favor of the oligarchy, by the way. That's why that's so significant.
These public servants have served our nation with honor and distinction and do not deserve to be targets of unjustified and politically motivated prosecutions.
Oh, brother.
Which nation was that? That wasn't this one.
I believe in the rule of law. Just like I thought you said the same thing for Hunter. You're going to accept the jury's decision, and then you didn't. I believe in the rule of law, and I am optimistic that the strength of our legal institutions will ultimately prevail over politics. But these are exceptional circumstances, and I cannot in good conscience do nothing.
Trump, I hope you take all them spec ops, psychopath killers we've been breeding for the last few years that we're all supposed to be all happy about, and I hope you put them some good fucking use.
I cannot in good conscience do nothing, and that's why I've shut my conscience off completely while I was in office. Makes it easier to do nothing after that and just watch watch a genocide and stuff like that. Joe Biden doesn't do things in good conscience. He does things when he's unconscious.
He did this in unconscious.
Several members of the January 6th committee said last week they didn't want or need pardons because they did nothing wrong. But in a statement on behalf of the committee, former Chair Benny Thompson and former Vice Chair Liz Cheney thanked Biden for his offer of clemency. We have been pardoned today, not for breaking the law, but for upholding it.
I thought Liz said no to the pardon, but I don't know. I guess I'm hearing conflicting things.
Conspicuously absent from this list of pardons, Kurt, is Nancy Pelosi. Does that mean she could still be held liable for her role in the January 6th spinsurrection? Several committee staffers told Politico that they were blindsided by Biden's announcement and were still weighing whether to accept or could even be sure they were included in the clemency announcement. Biden's initial statement included no list of names or language describing the scope of the pardons, which were signed Sunday.
I don't know how good these are going to hold up.
Importantly, those who receive Biden's clemency will actually be more vulnerable to being compelled to testify to Congress if Republican lawmakers demand depositions. That's because by removing the potential criminal threat, Biden would also take away their ability to assert the Fifth Amendment rights against self-incrimination that many Trump allies exercise to avoid providing substantially. Yeah, and they went to prison. So Implications is that they needed the pardons. So let's call them all before Congress and demand the truth, said Representative Chip Roy. If they refuse or lie, let's test the constitutional reach of these pardons with regard to their future actions. So if they can't be prosecuted now, so they should be made to testify in front of Congress. And then if they lie, they could be prosecuted for lying to Congress. Some aides at the White House have been concerned that doling out pardons to individuals who have been neither formally accused nor convicted of crimes could signal impropriety. You think? Fueling Trump's longstanding narrative of a double-barrel justice system that protects Democrats and persecutes their opponents. Well, at least Politico wrote that. At least they included that paragraph in their story.
That's also my long-standing narrative, and everybody that voted for Trump. Remember the overwhelming victory because everybody's sick of that? Politico, you dumb shit. Who wrote this?
I don't know, but
I'll bet it's 3 people. I bet it's one of these articles that takes 3 people to write.
Trump's political wrath has perhaps been felt most by Cheney, the Republican former lawmaker and House Republican leader, blah, 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 campaigned alongside. Trump has called for her to go to jail with the rest of the unselect committee. So why can't someone, since when can't someone defend themselves if they didn't commit a crime? Well, this is crazy. I think it's absolutely sexist to accuse the daughter of one of the most evil men in Earth's history of doing something that she actually did.
It is. It's called the rules-based order.
The View, Kurt, has already absolved Liz Cheney of any wrongdoing.
That's all I need.
It doesn't matter what role she played in the January 6th because that's what it was, a role. And she was playing it like an actress, pretending to be conservative, pretending to be liberal. She's the favorite of housewives and moms who also pretend all day.
Did you hear Rogan's joke about how in The View, they're all named like Joy and Whoopi, but they're most miserable fucking...
Yeah. Well, look at this. In case you missed it, Biden's Justice Department tells a court that if you accept a pardon, it's a confession of guilt. This is from Biden's Justice Department. He told January 6th defendants. So if you were being prosecuted by the January 6th committee, if you were being prosecuted by them and you accepted a pardon from Trump, that meant that you were confessing you were guilty of that crime. So now, according to Biden's own Justice Department, anybody who accepts a pardon, which Fauci already did, from Biden is guilty of a crime. A pardon at some unspecified date in the future would not unring the bell of conviction. In fact, quite the opposite. The defendant would first have to accept the pardon, which necessitates a confession of guilt. So anybody who accepts a pardon, according to Justice Department, Joe Biden's Justice Department, has to first acknowledge that they're guilty of a crime. Isn't that something?
I hope that the Trump people are paying close attention to the thing the Justice Department said, and then they, unring that pardon bell.
I say enjoy the freedom of that pardon affords you as you try to go shopping while everyone gets their phone out to make TikToks go viral. Oh, the pardon queen needs pantyhose. Thomas Massey says, oh my God, Biden just pardoned the people like Liz Cheney who falsely accused my House colleagues of asking for a pardon.
Yeah, I remember this too, by the way, when they were saying about Matt Gaetz was trying to get a preemptive pardon from Trump. I think it was the great crystal ball again, if I recall correctly. Giggling about the very idea of a preemptive pardon. How absurd that is.
I wish I had that video. If somebody finds that video, please send it to me. I'll do a segment on it. Wouldn't be the first time Crystal Ball and Malibu Ken.
It's like when I look into my crystal ball, I can tell the future.
If we could turn hypocrisy into energy, we wouldn't have to drill for oil anymore.
Yeah.
Glenn Greenwald says Joe Biden using his last day in office to pardon Liz Cheney, among others, is the perfect expression of American political realignment and the rotted soul of the Democratic Party.
Yeah, well, also portions of the Republicans. It's just they all join together in one blob.
That's right. Dave DeCamp says Thank you, President Biden, for protecting us from the dangers of oligarchy.
Is he being sarcastic?
Because right here, Biden pardons Dr. Anthony Fauci, General Mark Miley, and the January 6th committee in an extraordinary use of presidential pardon.
Mark Miley said, I'd like to thank banks for all they do.
Yeah, yep. Joe Pardon also pardoned Hannibal Lecter, as long as he agreed to be Obama's new chef. Okay, so Joe Biden and the Democrats and the establishment media are garbage people, and that's why our country looks the way it does.
And that's why Donald Trump.
What's that?
Worse than Russia.
Worse than Russia. But Jon Stewart will say that the fact that our infrastructure is crumbling, that's the price you pay for freedom. Hey, if you want a nice city and nice infrastructure and clean subways, you got to go to Russia.
Yeah, here we have to secretly burn down everything and then promise that and never build it.
Yeah. So.
He's a reverse Yakov Smirnov. Remember, Yakov would talk about how in Russia, now John says in New York, the subway is made of urinal cake.
It's amazing. It's amazing, from Jon Stewart to Jake Tapper to Rachel Maddow to the president to most of the people I know in Hollywood.
Right. What do they have in common, though, Jimmy?
It
didn't
brain
affect
dead?
them like that, so they don't have to give a shit about you.
That's right.
They're like, no, the economy's great. What, inflation? I buy a laptop.
It's great.
I do work with my home.
It's great. Yeah.
I'm a little depressed. I can't party.
Over the stuff.
Thank you. All right. Yes, I just wanted to confirm that Indigenous activist Leonard Peltier granted clemency by President Biden. All right. Here we go. Sparky, love right back. Thank you, Spark. Biden is like Oprah. You get a pardon, and you get a pardon. Everyone gets a pardon. P.W. Walker. Thank you, P.W. Non-punctuation really 20 says, if you knew about China, you would know that prosperity is very regional and tourist areas are curated. Look up hukou system like Chinese caste systems.
Are you joking? Like here? You mean like when California only cleaned up because Xi Jinping was coming to visit? Curated? Is that what you mean by curated? You mean regionally, some people on the coasts are good and like East Palestine is fucked? How, like, are people dumb? All the things you're saying about China, you know they apply to us, right? But worse. I don't love China, by the way. I can't believe people are making this like comparison and they're not aware how fucked we are.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here. And no punctuation, really. Thank you.
Go watch Gavin Newsom talk about how they curated California for the visit of the president of China.
My doggy just walked in, but my dog is not wearing a sweater because she grew out of them. That is really the only reason she doesn't wear sweater.
Oh, because she's not good at science, probably. You can't get a Nobel sweater.
Bill Rose Thorne, you can fight inflation by baking your own bread. It's delicious and costs a fraction of the price of store-bought bread. I love homemade bread. I hear you on that one, brother. Well, presidential pardons cannot be turned down and are considered an involuntary admission of guilt. The Supreme Court settled it over 100 years ago when someone tried to turn it down. Sparky, were you talking about the time when I think somebody were they in prison and they were going to be sentenced to death, but instead it was commuted to just life sentence? Is that the one?
Adam Schiff turned it down.
It is interesting, that you can turn. I thought you could turn it down, but it seems like you can't. I want to hear from Jonathan Turley. Why won't he?
How did Adam Schiff do it then? He did it. Adam Schiff turned it down. He said, I have nothing to receive a pardon for.
Well, let's see if he said that publicly or if he's going to accept it. Let's see. Now, Sandra shared, White House says Ramaswamy to step down from Doge. Thank you for the link. Much appreciated. Okay.
I like to think it's thanks to us yelling about it.
Let's see here. Did Lex Luthor get a pardon? Django Thunders. I don't think he needed one.
No, he was acquitted. You're talking about what's his name, who was grievously matured.
Matured. Trump is still signing EOs. He just told the reporters Israel's war is not our war. May jest.
He said that out loud.
Wow.
It's in quotes. It's in quotes.
That's crazy. I never thought I'd hear a day when someone said something that radically anti-Semitic.
Okay.
May
so,
jest. Thank you. Back to Jimmy.
So I just got this sent to me. Let's see if this is indeed crystal ball. Say what was that you said you remember?
What? Matt Gaetz wanting a preemptive pardon?
Yeah.
That's the story I remember from way back when Trump was
see.
going out.
Let's see what she says.
Well, we had an amazing story here in the New York Times. Matt Gaetz, put this up there on the screen, apparently sought a blanket pardon from President Trump in the waning days of his administration. Now, this was ultimately rejected by the White House counsel's office, but raises a lot of eyebrows here. So according to this story from the New York Times, Gaetz went into the pardons office and said not only did he want a pardon for himself, but a blanket one against him and any of his congressional allies. Now, look, we don't even know if Matt Gaetz even knew about his federal sex trafficking investigation at that time. There's no indication, according to this reporting from people inside of the White House counsel's office, that they even knew about the investigation. It seems like Bill Barr obviously was briefed on that investigation, and according to some reporting, he had to go out of his way to make sure he was never photographed with Matt Gaetz. After that, he was like, get that guy the hell away from me. Like Christmas parties, etc. Because I'm sure, Gaetz in particular would be the type of guy to try and do that. So that's kind of hilarious. But I mean, definitely adds something to the case that Gaetz knew that he might have been in trouble and has been for a long time and tried to get Trump to bail him out on this one.
I mean, innocent people don't typically go and beg for preemptive pardons for any crime.
Please make a clip of that. Please make a clip to play after we show after the pardon. So you just play, I mean, innocent people don't.
Innocent people don't.
I'll never forget that.
There it is. Let me play. Here, I'll play it again. Here we go. Here we go.
A long time and tried to get Trump to bail him out on this.
I
mean, innocent people don't typically go and beg for preemptive pardons for any crime.
Anything.
It's unheard of, isn't it, Crystal?
Pardon for any crime.
It's almost like it's unheard of. Like Fauci did that. It's weird.
Ridiculous in a way, isn't it?
It's almost crazy.
That's very strange.
General Miley, we got, or Milley, I don't know how you say his name. All the people on the January 6th committee. Isn't that weird?
Hey, everybody, Malibu Kyle.
Everybody in Biden's family, Hunter Biden. Yeah. In fact, Fauci's pardon goes back to 2014, just like Hunter's done.
Hey, we should look up what news was going on back in 2014 to piece together what their fucking crime is, shouldn't we?
Is this amazing? This is awesome. Thank you, Malcolm, for sending this.
Crimes they may or may not have committed. Good luck. And I think it adds some color to the reporting that we've seen too, that we covered yesterday about why Trump world is staying quiet. They're just staying out of it entirely. Yeah. It's not because, I don't know, I'm sure he rubbed some of them the wrong way too, but that's not really the issue. The issue is that he's just given them nothing to work with and no reason to believe that he's actually innocent.
They think it's true.
Right.
That's like mostly what it is.
That's basically what it is, and that's what they're telling reporters.
Israeli blackmail turned out to be, lest we forget.
What's that?
Lest we forget, Israel's trying to blackmail his dad.
That's
Remember?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, he denies the allegations, et cetera, et cetera. We'll see what all shakes out.
I wonder if she's going to have the same attitude towards Fauci. Oh, he must be guilty of something, right? Nobody asked for a blanket pardon that goes back to 2014.
It's a lot more people than Matt Gaetz asked for the thing that crime he did not commit at all, and he was being harassed by lawfare.
That's right.
Wow.
I wonder, that thing that Fauci did that Crystal Ball didn't have one question about, not one question.
Yeah.
Not one question about COVID, not one. In fact, she promoted narratives that made her money because her and her ex-husband, the 44 millionaire, had some kind of in-home learning thing. Yeah.
Home learning software.
Home learning software. So they were making money off what Fauci was doing, which is why they probably never criticized any of it. And they believed everything that Big Pharma said.
I'd like her to go to Malibu Kyle and check the numbers and see if Democrats are still a million, billion, jillion times better.
Are they a billion, jillion times better?
Is it just a million now?
Behavior was actually criminal or just super sketchy, creepy, and immoral. But clearly, even in Trump world, they think that he was a little bit outside of how far they wanted to go. I'm sure the fact that he came and asked for these pardons preemptively didn't give them a lot of additional confidence either.
Yeah, that's right. And, it's interesting, too, because some more is coming out about his associate, Mr. Greenberg, the one who was indicted.
Israel.
I know.
Greenberg, the agent of Israel that did one of the dirtiest things I've ever heard of to somebody, to blackmail their father on behalf of Israel. That's what fucking happened.
And
you know why? Because Gates went after the military-industrial complex.
What's that?
Because Gates went after the military-industrial complex.
That's exactly right.
In some crazy way. It was like some money they were stealing. I don't know. You played the clip on this show, I think. It made me mad when I saw it, because immediately you saw what the whole motive was.
Seems to have been involved allegedly in many of these sexual escapades, which Matt Gaetz was involved in. Now, what they said is that this guy, Greenberg, in particular, was known in Florida as almost like a Roger Stone-like figure who was, procuring women, who's now under indictment for, producing false identification, prostitution, allegedly, in the sex.
Roger Stone.
Yeah, the guy who was trying to entrap Matt Gaetz.
No, he's an Epstein-like figure in that he got whores for people to get entrapped with because he worked for Israel. That's who he's like, not like Roger Stone, because Roger Stone, I don't remember running whores. I remember Epstein doing that. Some of whom were children, by the way.
And the guy was in charge of the driver's licenses in Florida, or had some control over issuing driver's licenses. So he would get these underage girls, give them driver's licenses, said they were of age, and then try to entrap people.
Yeah. And by the way, he's in jail, Greenberg.
Yeah, Greenberg's in jail.
Because he's a piece of shit.
Trafficking charges as well, and that he was very, very close friends with Matt Gaetz and was actually involved. The two of them were apparently thick as thieves here in terms of some of the things that they would go out and do. And that seems to be where all of this is beginning to stem from. The indictment of Greenberg is what then led to the investigation into Gaetz. At the same time, though, came out yesterday that the alleged extorter of Gaetz basically confirmed the entire plot of contacting him, saying, hey, if you gave me this loan, I can make you a hero and all of that. So there's just layers of insanity that are on top of all of this.
It's so bizarre. You literally could not make it up and throw Robert Levinson into the mix, and then his dad's wearing a wire. But it looks increasingly like there was some there from Gaetz, whether again it's criminal or not, we don't know, and we'll wait for the facts to come out. But also clearly these...
Well, it's weird that they would go after a guy like that and try to entrap him, because he was a guy who wasn't taking big money, and he was always going after the military-industrial complex. He opposed the Ukraine funding, and he opposed the establishment in terms of McCarthy. And it's really interesting. Isn't that interesting that that's the guy that they went after and they never charged him with a crime? Isn't that interesting? Kind of like what they did with Donald Trump for the last 3 years and lawfare. Isn't it interesting?
Yeah. They wanted some Israeli spy released. I'm forgetting his name.
That's right.
Normally know.
That is correct.
Pollard was the one with Clinton. That's what Monica Lewinsky was about, by the way, because Clinton didn't want to let Jonathan Pollard, one of the worst spies in U.S. history, from our best friend Israel, and he wasn't going to free him. And all of a sudden, the Monica Lewinsky thing happened, and Clinton had to free him. Isn't that funny how that works?
Guys were trying to shake him down, whether they genuinely just wanted the money to go rescue Robert Levinson or had other intent for what to do with that money.
Right. Robert Levinson, is that the guy's name? I think, was that the guy?
Maybe it was.
The fact that he confirmed the accuracy or the veracity of the text message that was sent to Gates' dad, of the letter that was sent.
All right, I've heard enough. I can't listen.
I'm worried about Russian money myself. I don't pay attention.
I can't listen. I know. She should go Russiagate a little more or something. Unbelievable. Okay, let's take a break. We'll be right back. Blanket pardon, something he vowed he would never do, and they condemned Trump for even considering it, which Trump didn't do. Now I'm going to show you all the times this is when Trump was president. Remember how people hated preemptive pardons? Let's watch this.
Have you ever heard of somebody getting a preemptive pardon who was innocent of all crime? Who's just an innocent person? Have you ever heard of that? Just somebody getting a blanket pardon and they're an innocent person?
But no, it's the president's own family. It's people that have been covering up for the president in addition to his own family.
Is there an innocent explanation for someone to seek preemptive pardons for family members? Would you do that if you knew you were innocent and just worried about outside forces?
The answer to that is going to be no. If you haven't done anything wrong, you sit there and go, what do you need a preemptive pardon for?
If he pardons people preemptively, he's essentially telling the public that these people have committed crimes. And we may not be aware of what they are, but
So does that apply to Liz Cheney? Does that apply to Dr. Fauci? Does that apply to Hunter Biden? Does that apply to everybody in Joe Biden's family he just pardoned? Does that apply to them? Huh.
Yeah, you know what is funny about this? The government is so utterly fucking corrupt that, you know how plea deals work? Most people plea out for crimes. Yeah, if the government was against you and you could get a preemptive pardon and you were innocent, you should get one because you can't ever trust them to be not doing lawfare against you.
Right.
However, these people are guilty as sin. They're the ones singing the praises of the system. And now all of a sudden, it's not good. How'd that happen?
So when it was
one guy,
yeah, when it was Trump, all of a sudden preemptive pardons meant you were guilty as sin. And
pardon is clear evidence that crimes have been committed.
I imagine if he decides to issue these preemptive pardons, it will be cast in a way that he is protecting his family and protecting their reputations from, villainous exterior forces that are against him.
First off, we should just take a deep breath and acknowledge the audacity of a president who's so clearly concerned about his own criminal culpability and that of his family members that pardons are a major obsession with him.
The idea of a kind of prospective pardon, this sort of permanent federal get out of jail free card. That seems to be what we're talking about in the case of this, right? With Giuliani and his 3 eldest children who, as far as we know, have not been convicted of a crime. Maybe they've committed a lot and they don't want to face action. I don't know. It's weird. I wouldn't ask for a pardon. I don't think I deserve one because I don't think I've done anything criminal. But where does that come from? That concept that you can just kind of wave your magic pardon wand.
We have Tish James. We have Xavier Becerra. Mimi Rocha is literally my DA in my town. There will be opportunities to prosecute these people regardless if they abuse the pardon power as they are thinking.
Hopefully, Ellie, there will be a skyfall on this entire crime family, and there will be another day for them to die.
The president does indeed pardon, let's say, Rudy Giuliani or any members of his family. Would you see that, and I asked Preet Bharara this question, as essentially an admission of guilt?
I certainly would view it that way. I think millions of Americans would view it that way. If there was no belief in criminality, why would he think a pardon was necessary?
CNN has learned President Biden will pardon his son Hunter Biden.
Oh, so all of a sudden, though preemptive pardons are cool. It just means that they're shielding them from prosecution, unlawful prosecution. Trump is going to target them. Here's
Adam
Chuck
Schiff
Schumer.
doesn't want a pardon. He's the only one that's not a hypocrite. I have to say, it's really hilarious. Adam Schiff says he does not want a pardon because so he's, of all those people, that scumbag's the only one sticking to his guns of what he said.
The president seems intent on filling each of his remaining days in office with petulance, grievance, self-interest. The president's reportedly asking his staff about whether he can whether he can issue. President's reportedly asking his staff whether he can issue preemptive pardons for himself, his family members, Rudy Giuliani. There's a simple answer: no. No, Mr. President, that would be a gross abuse of the presidential pardon authority.
What?
What? Huh? Wait, what? No, you can't. That would be a gross misuse of presidential pardon authority.
Yeah.
What?
You can't really say Trump is such a threat it justifies it, because if he was that big a threat, why did you allow an election to happen with him in it? Unless he was not that big of a threat. And why is Obama joking around with him at the Carter funeral like he's not Hitler? If he is Hitler, then there should have been a war over it. Shouldn't there have been?
Shouldn't there have been?
But it wasn't. Yeah, so he's a legitimate candidate and he's not weaponizing shit. So that doesn't hold water at all, that excuse.
There they are. Remember when the Democrats hated preemptive pardons was an abuse of presidential power. Preemptive pardons meant you were guilty.
No, it's my duty to forget, and I am. Starting now. What are we even talking about?
That's amazing. Does anybody else remember when Democrats hated preemptive pardons?
No, they very few. It's called mind control. Everybody's under it. It's very few. It's not like it sounds far-fetched, but it's not. You don't think it's bizarre that these very obvious things, people don't notice them?
I mean, that's the leader of the Democratic Party in the Senate. That was the leader of the Democratic Party at that time, by the way, because he was a leader in the Senate and the president was a Republican. He was the leader of the Democrat Party, Chuck Schumer. And he's saying, no, you can't. You can't do a preemptive pardon.
Trump should play this on his Twitter. He should play this nonstop.
I agree.
Have you ever heard of somebody getting a preemptive pardon who was innocent of all crime? Who's just an innocent person? Have you ever heard of that? Just somebody getting a blanket pardon and they're an innocent person?
But no, it's the president's own family. It's people that have been covering up.
His family.
His own Biden's own family.
Not just Hunter, like a bunch of members of his family.
Everything they accused Trump of said Trump would do, they are doing.
How would you be this stupid to not see this? Like, imagine that. This stupid.
But it doesn't matter. Again, the people who vote Democrat, people could be living through a fire with no water in their fire hydrants, no firemen to fight it, and draining of a reservoir of 117 million gallons right above your house, and your house burns down, and they still go, there's nothing they could have done. That's
we don't have to keep
the
attacking
cult.
Bill Burr.
That is the cult that these people are in.
His own family.
Is there an innocent explanation for someone to seek preemptive pardons for family members? Would you do that if you knew you were innocent and just worried about outside forces?
The answer to that is going to be no. If you haven't done anything wrong, you sit there and go, what do you need a preemptive pardon for?
If he pardons people preemptively, he's essentially telling the public that these people have committed crimes. And we may not be aware of what they are, but the pardon is clear evidence that crimes have been committed.
I imagine if he decides to issue these preemptive pardons, it will be cast in a way that he is protecting his family and protecting their reputations from, villainous exterior forces that are against him.
First off, we should just take a deep breath and acknowledge the audacity of a president who's so clearly concerned about his own criminal culpability and that of his family members that pardons are a major obsession with him.
The idea of a kind of prospective pardon, this sort of permanent federal get out of jail free card. That seems to be what we're talking about in the case of this, right? With Giuliani and his 3 eldest children who, as far as we know, have not been convicted of a crime. Maybe they've committed a lot and they don't want to face action. I don't know. It's weird. I wouldn't ask for a pardon. I don't think I deserve one because I don't think I've done anything criminal. But where does that come from? That concept that you can just kind of wave your magic pardon wand.
We have Tish James. We have Xavier Becerra. Mimi Rocha is literally my DA in my town. There will be opportunities to prosecute these people regardless if they abuse the pardon power as they are thinking.
Hopefully, Ellie, there will be a skyfall on this entire crime family, and there will be another day for them to die.
The president does indeed pardon, let's say, Rudy Giuliani or any members of his family. Would you see that, and I asked Preet Bharara this question, as essentially an admission of guilt?
I certainly would view it that way. I think millions of Americans would view it that way. If there was no belief in criminality, why would he think a pardon was necessary?
CNN has learned President Biden will pardon his son Hunter Biden.
Who put that together? I don't know. I would love to give credit to whoever put that together. Was it at the end of that video or no? I didn't see it either. Okay. I remember those. Those are the good old days when they hated preemptive pardons. Over to stuff.
Okay, gosh, it's so interesting to see what any of these people are saying today, right? What does that look like on MSNBC? All right, let's see. I'm just seeing here. No. All right. I didn't get any hot tips from that. I was looking at Elie Mystal, that last one of those last gentlemen. He has nothing for the last couple of days. All right, Lily, got your tip. Thank you, Lily. Sparky, of course, if the president checks with the person he wishes to pardon beforehand and they ask him not to, the president might not go forward with it. But once it's granted, it can't be refused. Sparky 63. At Tuba Buddha, thank you, Tuba Buddha, or do you say Buddha? Please look up Chinese average income. Hukou is worse than what we have. People are forbidden to live in certain places based on their papers. Thank you so much. And here we go. No punctuation really comes back for more. All righty. Thank you for that. Let me see what I have over here. Just so you know, according to AP News, Joe Biden pardoned, of course, we know his son Hunter for tax and gun crimes, despite his previous pledges not to do so. Biden issued a blanket pardons for his brother James and his wife Sarah, his sister Valerie and her husband John Owens, and his brother Francis. Now, in quotes, it says, the issuance of these pardons should not be mistaken as an acknowledgement that they engage in any wrongdoing, nor should acceptance be misconstrued as an admission of guilt for any offense. And that's what Joe Biden said in his statement earlier.
Well, it will be. It will be. I hope.
Those pardons just came right before noon. Biden was already at the Capitol to see Trump be inaugurated. All right. Okay, that was on the AP News. Let's see what we have here. Looking. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody, for showing up today. We almost have 20,000 watching right now. I'm not including the other websites. All right, let's see.
Are people watching this on Twitter?
Yeah.
How many?
We
had 30,000 people watching us earlier.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Wasn't that great?
Yeah.
All
that's
right.
That's like Trump assassination numbers.
Yeah. Remember that? All right, let's see here.
The bullet just hit the camera and the glass probably hit his ear. I'm being Sam Harris right now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody and they were saying how, I think really it just was a setup. I don't think anybody really, all right, come on.
What about the guy who got killed from a stray bullet?
Yeah.
Was he part of the in on it?
Right. All right, let's see here. Ladies and gentlemen, all right, our upcoming shows, do that. Okay, here we go. Our upcoming shows, I told you about February 1st and February 15th. We're going to do some more stand-up. All the shows on our website, everybody, just so you know, are actually just stand-up shows. We'll let you know when we do the next panel show. All right, February 1st at 7:30. Did you just do this? Did you add this to the website? That's nice. Look at you. Don't think I'm not noticing the things you do behind the scene, you and your cute toes. February 1st, 7:30 at Two Roads. February 15th at 7:30 at Two Roads. And then you can find us. You go right to our website, jimmydore.com. And on February 20th, we'll be at the Dallas, Texas Improv. And then we will be seeing our good friends in Austin at the Comedy Mothership, February 21st, 7 p.m., 10 p.m. show, 22nd, 7 p.m., 10 p.m. show on the 22nd, 23rd at 8 p.m. And you can go right to jimmydore.com and you'll find the link to those tickets that will take you directly to the right place. Then we're going to be in March 14th, we'll be at Baltimore Magoobies, and I believe our friend Max Blumenthal will be doing some comedy as well. March 15th, we'll as well. That Sunday, we have a show at 7 p.m. April 3rd, Atlantic City at the Claridge Hotel. That'll be fun, 8 p.m. show. April 5th, we'll be at Cohoes. Or do you say Cohoes? Or do you say Cohoes? I don't know. What's the difference? But somebody's told me I had to say it differently, and I swear they told us we were saying it wrong. We were there, that we should pronounce it as Cohoes. All right, and that's at Cohoes Music Hall on April 5th. Ladies and gentlemen, go to jimmydore.com. Back to Jim Jam.
Okay, so Joe Biden, remember when Joe Biden said he would not be doing preemptive pardons? Just remember.
President Trump is reportedly considering a wave of preemptive pardons. Does this concern you? All these preemptive pardons?
Well, it concerns me in terms of what kind of precedent it sets and how the rest of the world looks at us as a nation of laws and justice. You're not going to see in our administration that kind of approach to pardons.
So, but then again, Joe Biden swears he doesn't recollect swearing in. So when he says you won't see me doing that, it's only because he thought he could get away with it. So here it is. Breaking. Joe Biden has pardoned his family.
His whole family?
Executive grant of clemency. James B. Biden, Sarah Jones Biden, Valerie Biden Owens, John T. Owens, and Francis W. Biden. Plus, he already did Hunter.
Mm-hmm. What are they involved in? I thought it was just Hunter, not the whole goddamn family.
Hang on. What happened to this? Here, you want to know what they're involved in? So first of all, President Biden pardons family members in final minutes of presidency. So this is just the president's friends and family pardon plan. That's all this is. And the side benefit is protecting the president himself from the guilt by association on top of his actual guilt. But you want to know what he did? Here, I got this. I was watching Due Dissidence, and they pulled this up from Kanoka the Great. 6 major banks, including J.P. Morgan Chase, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo, filed over 170 suspicious activity reports with the Treasury Department alleging that the Biden family's involvement in money laundering, human trafficking, and tax
Can you say
fraud.
that again? What?
6 major banks, including J.P. Morgan Chase, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo, filed over 170 suspicious activity reports with the Treasury Department alleging that Biden's family's involvement in money laundering, human trafficking, and tax fraud.
So that's why Jill wore that panda costume at Halloween, huh?
Congressional investigations uncovered that foreign funds from Russia, China, and Ukraine were funneled through 20 Biden-linked shell companies before being distributed to 9 Biden family members, including a grandchild. That's not the grandchild he doesn't acknowledge.
Right, not that one.
None of the Bidens registered under the Foreign Agent Registration Act as required by law, which is what they got Trump's first campaign manager on and put him in jail. In other words, the Biden family, who live by their own set of rules and avoid paying their fair share of taxes, are the very ultra-wealthy oligarchs President Biden warned the nation about.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with the human trafficking as long as they pay taxes. That's a good point. What the fuck? Human trafficking? So you know what that means? Because I already knew this about Hunter. His family worked for the CIA. That's why they thought they could get away with that. Because that's who runs that.
This is amazing.
I can't believe it says human trafficking. I'm blown away by that.
It says it. So President Joe Biden issued pardons to several close family members Monday in the final minutes of the president. My family has been subjected to unrelenting attacks and threats. Really? Your poor family's being accused of crimes they actually committed?
Was it people who you trafficked? Piece of shit.
Is that... So it's called an attack when someone points out the crimes that your family committed. So
what kind of garbage are you that Chase Bank, which has a literal swastika as their logo, was disturbed by the records and thought you might be involved in human trafficking? You know how big a scumbag you got to be for the banks to write a report on it? They do business with the worst cartels in the world. That's CIA, that's why.
So Biden's pretending that he has to protect them from these partisan politic attacks with the lawfare after they just did that to Trump for 3 straight years.
Yeah, I get a little partisan on human trafficking. I apologize.
That is why I'm exercising my powers under the Constitution to pardon James Biden, Sarah Biden, Valerie Biden Owens, John T. Owens, and Francis W. Biden. Holy shit.
You have 20 shell companies? Dude, like, really corrupt companies don't have 20 shell companies.
I know.
You know who has that? Drug dealers and human traffickers.
He says the issuance of these pardons should not be mistaken as an acknowledgement that they engaged in any wrongdoing, nor should acceptance be misconstrued as an admission of guilt for any offense. Well, unfortunately, his own Justice Department, Joe Biden's Justice Department, actually says the opposite. That says if you do take a pardon that's, in fact, the defendant who would first have to accept the pardon necessitates a confession of guilt. That's his own Justice Department. Biden's own Justice Department said that if you accept a pardon from the president, first thing you have to do is accept your guilt. Biden Justice Department tells court an acceptance of a pardon is a confession of guilt. His own Justice Department just said that. So, of course, now every asshole in the media and every asshole I know in Hollywood is going to memory hole that and say that his Justice Department never said that. Oh, well, that's all, or it's somehow different.
I hope Trump parades these people out with the crimes they did. Let's say you pardon them and whatever. I hope he releases every last bit of hidden evidence that we know the FBI covers up, such as your Epstein shit and your JFK. I hope he releases all of it about these people. And then it won't matter if they're in prison or not, because there ain't nowhere they could go, is there?
So just keep in mind, you're forgetting the most important part here, Kurt. It only counts as bad when a Republican does it or someone associated with Trump. You weren't supposed to think about this. You're just supposed to listen, and you're just supposed to go along. So if you're starting to doubt that this is the way to do it, just have coffee with one of your friends who also doesn't know anything and allow them to convince you.
Maybe in a car with Seinfeld.
Yeah, maybe in a car with Seinfeld. The 5 preemptive pardons were issued to James Biden, Joe's younger brother, his wife, so Valerie Biden Owens, Joe's younger sister, John T. Owens, Valerie's husband, and Francis W. Biden, Joe's younger brother. So 2 of Joe's brothers' wives, and 2 of Joe's brother, or one of his brother's kids. Wow. Gee,
fact,
talk
his
about
son,
talk
his
about
son,
a crime
Bo,
family.
Well, not Bo. Bo, the dead one, he was a good guy, and he prosecuted human traffickers.
He was the one.
He died suddenly after DuPont was prosecuted by him. It wasn't Iraq, I don't think.
At least the Munsters had one normal person in their family. And
he was the Maryland. Bo was the Maryland of them.
Yeah, Bo was the Maryland. Yep. I believe in the rule of law. I'm optimistic that the strength of our legal and political. So it's just all bullshit.
Yeah.
It's just all, I believe in the rule of law, except now because, it's my crime family.
Wait, Jimmy, do you think having open borders might facilitate a human trafficking network by any chance?
Would you think?
That's kind of odd that the border suddenly swung open and Chase Bank and all the other, these are banks, the most evil things there are in the world, are like, this is really suspicious.
So he says,
because I never heard of this until just now. The rest of his family.
Listen to this. Even when individuals have done nothing wrong and will ultimately be exonerated, the mere fact of being investigated or prosecuted can irreparably damage their reputations and finance. Exactly. Let's stop trying to nitpick and find guilt in doing illegal deals in the Ukraine and having crack-fueled orgies with underage girls. We have more important things to worry about, like Agenda 2025.
Yeah. We're going to miss it at this rate with all your distractions you keep bringing up, Jimmy.
This comes after Biden issued a controversial pardon for his son Hunter in early December after tax evasion and federal gun charges. Biden had repeatedly said he did not plan to pardon Hunter. James Biden, 75, has especially come under fire from Republicans. Like, loosen up, everybody. Guns are as American as tax evasion. Am I right? Come on.
Yeah.
Of course, Joe Biden said he was not going to pardon his son, but then he forgot that Hunter Biden was his son and pardoned him anyway. He's got dementia. Yeah. He just forgot.
Yeah. Joe Biden's been dead for years.
Congressional Republicans have pressed the incoming Justice Department to bring charges against James Biden for allegedly lying to Congress as part of its impeachment inquiry into the outgoing president and his family. Really? James, no kidding. James Comer, the chair of the House Oversight Committee, wrote to incoming Attorney General Pam Bondi on Friday, seeking to hold James Biden accountable for having misled Congress regarding Joe Biden's participation in his family's influence peddling and deserving of prosecution under federal law. Son of a gun, huh, Kurt?
I'm just shocked that we all moved past the child trafficking part to like taxes and guns, because that is crazy that was in there. I'm blown away that was in a. Who tweeted that?
Kanoka the Great. Everything Democrats and corporate media falsely claimed Trump would do with the pardon power to destroy democracy and the rule of law, like pardoning his family members and all his political allies, were things Trump did not do. They were, however, all things that Biden did. This is up is down, black is white, in is out. And this is what I was trying to explain to Cornel West when he kept saying Joe Biden wasn't a fascist, but Donald Trump was. And I had to school the Harvard professor that he was being an idiot. On purpose, by the way, because he knew. There's no chance in hell that Cornel West didn't know that Joe Biden is a fascist and a corrupt criminal, career criminal, and a racist. There's no way he didn't know that. He just didn't want to get himself excluded from polite society. Just minutes before Trump is inaugurated, Biden pardons his entire immediate family for crimes that may or may not have been committed beginning on January 1st, 2014. Why? Because this is when Biden began using his family members as bagmen for money laundering in Ukraine.
Oh, that's CIA. That's what I was talking about.
His family members were used to collect and funnel money and then relay it back to Joe, 10% for the big guy.
Yeah.
Biden is not covering up his family members' crimes. Biden is covering up his own crimes that he used his family members to carry out. This is pardon for Biden and all his deep state associates. 2014 is when the Obama regime turned Ukraine into an offshore playground for racketeering. This is why all the pardons begin in 2014. It's all about covering up their crimes in Ukraine.
Wasn't that Crimea? It was 2014 when they took Crimea?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think that's when they did the coup in Ukraine.
Yeah.
I think that's when the Maidan coup happened.
And Ukraine's a big trafficking country, ain't it?
No one is above the law except me and my entire family.
Huh.
He's like Oprah. You get a pardon, and you get a pardon, and you get a pardon. When I say pardon,
you get trafficked. That's another Oprah.
when somebody in Biden's family says "pardon me," they mean it. I didn't do anything wrong, but I need a pardon, like in Monopoly when you get out of jail free. Yes, officer, I was doing 150 on the 405, but here, let me show you this document. I have a pardon.
Yeah, I need a pardon for members of my family you didn't even know existed until now.
They didn't even know existed. They're all criminals. Joe Biden's whole family are all criminals, from Hunter to Joe to his brother to his other brother. To his niece.
His surviving family. The one that was good.
Yeah, the one that was good
died
dead.
Suddenly. What happens in a crime family when one guy's not in on the crimes and doesn't want to be part of it, you think? You think he lives? I don't think he does.
Over his stuff.
All right.
He had to a spot.
Thank you. All right.
Okay, I'll see you.
Have fun.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye, buddy. All right. Let's see here.